Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's happening, all my woods people? Today we have part 2 of the 60 Destination podcast here that we did. It was a marathon podcast with our buddy Sean Polk from Tailwaters Fly Fishing Company and your favorite co-host, Casey Smith. What's happening, dude?
Just sitting here hoping everybody's gone back and listened to part 1 of this because it was pretty awesome. And part 2 is going to be
even better.
Maybe better, at least just as good.
Dude,
yeah.
Sean saved his best ones for the end.
He did save the best ones for the end. So
I kind of botched that one, but I was just trying to follow y'all all around the map.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I used up some of my good ones at first, too. But that's okay. My last one, I mean, to me at least, is pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in hearing that and you have listened to the first one, then let's go ahead and get with this. We've got, don't forget, Instagram story. All week we've been posting pictures, and we will continue doing that from these destinations that we mention in this podcast to kind of give you some visual to what we're talking about here and just to kind of reminisce on our own part. So anyway, so let's get back into part 2 of this podcast with Sean Polk from Tailwaters Fly Fishing Company. Okay, well, let's head out west a little bit. And let's see, before I really got, I guess, really into high school, football season kind of overran this thing. But we did a dove hunt every year on opening day with both my mom's side and my dad's side, a lot of the men in those both of our families. And then once I got into high school, that kind of, I wasn't able to go, and things, the trip kind of fell apart, but we've kind of picked it back up last few years, and it's not really a whole lot of our family anymore, but it's friends and stuff like that. And you mentioned this, Sean, earlier. You guys did the little kind of West Texas dove hunt this year. It just doesn't get any better, in my opinion.
No, yeah.
The opening day, like, rush and just like but it's not like a rush like you're stressed to do anything. Like, I mean, in the end, you're just eating good food, hanging out with buddies, and yelling across the field, on your left when they're really on your right, and like, it's just, man, it's just, you get to shoot. If you don't want to hide that much and work for them, you're still going to end up with a half a limit probably if you're hunting a good field. And, the thing is, like, the rental rates for the fields are pretty cheap overall. You can find, like, good day hunts, for dove. And just you're sitting on a sunflower or wheat field or whatever, and, man, it's a blast.
I'm going to agree. September 1st is probably like one of the few days of the year I get really excited.
Oh, me too.
I mean, because it's like, all right, hunting season's here.
Yeah.
This is Christmas Eve and New Year's all rolled into one.
Yep.
Tomorrow I get to go and kill some stuff. I have my dog with me, my buddies. It's opening day at dove season. And I have to say, like, dove season is probably my favorite season of the year. I mean, it's just...
I can't sleep the night before. Like, I'm talking, I will lay in bed for way longer than I should. I
mean, I like duck hunting, but duck hunting's work.
Oh, it is.
Bow hunting is fun, but let's face it, there's a lot of time and you're just going to be sitting there waiting for something to happen. Yeah. Dove season, dude, your buddies, you're talking, it's social.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love.
Oh, it's great. The whole thing is wonderful.
Yeah, and you can, guys, there's a lot of times guys will, like, literally sit on their tailgate and shoot them. No. And it's not, and I'm not trying to say that a dove is dumb, but on opening day and, like, the day after, they're dumb.
Yeah. But uneducated.
They get educated, though. I mean, you can see it happen even after opening day, and then by October, like, you're having a hard time sometimes. But that opening weekend, it's easy, it's fun, and really, honestly, maybe my favorite thing to eat of wild game.
Yes.
Period. I mean,
and plus, it means my dog gets to go hunting with me, and well, that's just icing on the cake right there. I think he gets more excited about dove hunting than I do.
That's good, man. Yeah. It's awesome.
All right, so going through I haven't even hit my saltwater stuff yet.
Let's hear it.
Well, yeah, we can hit the saltwater. So, man, I'm going to go Florida Panhandle for tarpon. So, so we talked about tarpon earlier, kind of offline, but tarpon fishing is really one of the coolest things you can do if you've ever like wanted to hook a dinosaur that jumps like a bass and pulls like a freight train. Tarpon's where it's at. It really is, man. So in Florida Panhandle is absolutely phenomenal. So you hear a lot of guys go down to the Keys, and Keys have got some great tarpon fishing. But what happens is you got these fish that migrate from the Bahamas up through the Keys, and when they hit the Keys, some of them head to the east, go up the Atlantic, but there's a big majority that go west and go up to Florida, the Gulf side of Florida. But what happens is they all eventually make the turn there at the Panhandle, and then they run along the beach. And so from Apalachicola through Mexico Beach all the way up to Destin, you've got this awesome tarpon migration. And you're fishing right off the beach, usually that second cut. And the way the cuts are, you've got 12 feet of water below you, and you've got a sandbar to the left and sandbar to the right, which are like in 3 feet of water. So these tarpon start running down these channels, and they basically T-bone the skiff that you're sitting in. And it's not unusual to see strings of like 5, 6, 10, 15 fish. Like big fish too. That's the cool thing that up in the Panhandle, there are no baby tarpon. These are all migratory fish because what's happening is they're running up towards the mouth of the Mississippi River to spawn. So there's another group of tarpon that come up from Mexico that actually run from like Campeche up through Texas, and then somewhere in the mouth of Mississippi, you get the Mexico fish, Bahamas fish, they spawn, and then they go back to prospective homes. But the Florida Panhandle is where you get to see all those Florida fish, Bahamas fish running right past your boat. It can be difficult because there's so many fish, and they see a lot of flies. But if you want to see 120, 150-pound fish, like 10 feet off the bow,
that's cool.
That's where you do it at.
I do want to see it.
The first tarpon I ever saw in the wild was off of Mexico Beach. It was about 40 feet off the front of the bow. I make my cast, do one strip. I come tight. It's like somebody tried to yank the rod out of my hand. I go to set the hook. This thing goes airborne 6 feet in front of us. I'm not sorry. It was a 90-pound fish about 60 feet in front of us. It goes airborne, and I was like, holy crap. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It really is. I was like, I'm hooked. This is all I want to do at this point.
Yeah. Spoiled.
Yeah, it was. So
that's awesome, dude.
So yeah, I'm gonna put down. You got to go do Florida Panhandle tarpon.
Yeah,
put it on your list.
It's on my list.
That's cool. I'll put it there for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm really done with saltwater stuff. So I'm gonna go to since you're talking about.
I got a whole list of stuff.
Good. You're talking about giant fish. I'm gonna go itty bitty fish. Okay, this is something that probably nobody's really ever fished because nobody really cares to because it's small. But Nolan Creek, Belton, Texas. Nolan Creek is, I guess it would be a trib of which river? I don't know, one of those like Central Texas rivers. But it runs right down through downtown Belton. And if you go upstream a ways, you can access it next to, I think the town is called Good Luck, Texas, or something like that. It's like a little community. But anyways, you can drive down this really sketch, get off the highway and drive down to the river thing and hop in there. And in the springtime, I've been a lot of places. I've never seen as many long-eared sunfish, pumpkin seed sunfish as what I've seen in Nolan Creek. Absolutely amazing. Crystal clear water, and you've got fish that are baby blue and fire orange going absolutely nutso over anything you can put in the water.
I love it.
And I'm not kidding, Mr. Halfway. It is your dream come true. It is the coolest thing ever. And Nolan Creek's big enough to float, so I didn't do it, but you can float the thing. And it's like, I don't know, like 6 river miles from that highway down to Belton, and get out downtown and go eat Mexican food after you're done.
That sounds like
freaking cool.
That sounds like a trip right there,
It's
dude.
a great place, man.
All right, let's do it. I'm down for that for sure. All right, we'll head on south for my next one, and you will end up somewhere down there in the heart of the brush country. And I used to go for a few years when I first was getting into deer hunting with my dad and his buddy and his son. And we hunted in Ensenada, Texas, which is very close to the Mexican border. And it's just solid mesquite trees and prickly pear cactus. And the rut happens in December. So not a whole lot of ruts happening around the country at that time. There's a great deer density there. And you can kill 3 bucks. You're going to have a hard time finding a place that's not high fence or not privately owned. But man, if you do have that contact, if you know somebody out there that has a place down there or whatever, or you have the money to do it, man, it's a hoot. We had 100 acres of low fence there at the time, and I'm sure it's been bought since. But man, it's pretty awesome, and you get to go down there and have like for real Mexican food. You know, I mean, there's real authentic stuff happening down there in your mouth.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, you're making me hungry now.
Dude, I'm hungry.
All right, so we can start my saltwater venture. So, North Carolina, Harker's Island, Atlantic Beach for the false albacore run. So, if you want to get into like awesome, like 15 to 25 pound fish that pull and run like little rockets, the albacore is where it's at. And so, this usually happens in October. Did this trip for quite a few years. Had some buddies out there. We go out there and fish with them. And, yeah, so the false albacore, they're tuna. But they're like 15, 20-pound tuna. You take a 9, 10-weight rod, and they school. And, like, you look for the birds. Like, if you ever been on Texoma looking for birds, it's the same deal. You got birds diving, pushing up these bait fish from the below the tuna. You catch your fly in there. You don't even have to set the hook. They hit running 40 miles an hour. And then it's like into your backing every single time. Good little 5-minute fight, on to the next one. So, yeah.
Do they eat like tuna? They don't eat. People don't eat them that much.
No, so false albacore, yeah, you don't eat these. They have no food value whatsoever. You let them go. I heard about one Japanese dude keeping one. That's the only time I heard about somebody keeping one. And the guy that I was fishing was like, yeah, I had this client from Japan wanted to keep one, see what it was like. He's like, but that's the only person who's ever caught one.
Huh.
So,
man, that sounds fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So, back on the freshwater stuff, this last summer, Tyler and I went to Black Canyon National Park and fished the Gunnison. And it was absolutely epic. We hit the stonefly hatch about as good as you can hit.
Oh, man.
Dude,
I mean,
it was
awesome.
Killer. It was the coolest thing. And, you know, it's just, you can't have words sometimes. You know, you just don't understand. I'll never be able to explain the magnitude of the trip, how hard it was to get where we went, and then how good the payoff was. But luckily, we did get some sick footage of it, and we have a pretty cool film that's going to be, featuring that whole trip.
It's going to be debuting here.
Yeah.
In Dallas, Texas.
On Cinco de Mayo.
On Cinco de Mayo.
Yep.
So if you are interested in seeing that, show up here on Cinco de Mayo, Tailwaters Fly Fishing Company.
But on the trip, a nice little segue to a little promotion there, guys.
Yeah.
Nice way to sink that one in there.
Yeah. So on that trip, I think I caught my personal best 6 times?
Like 100 times.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was sick, man. And to top it off, I got like the coolest autumn-colored brown in June that I've ever. I don't understand how it works, but this brown was just straight lit up on a streamer. It's like probably a 19, 20 incher. A good fish, amongst like quite a few 20+ rainbows. That were all taking flies that were literally the size of my pinky finger.
That's awesome.
We didn't stay down in the canyon that long, but I feel like if you did, it would be like summer break from school and then trying to go back in August. Like when you come out of the canyon, you would just be like, I hate real life.
Yeah. Oh, it changes who you are.
Did y'all hike in there?
Yeah.
Oh, y'all
Yeah.
did it hardcore.
Dude,
It was
tough.
2,000 vertical feet from the rim to the floor is what they say.
And we brought every camera that Tyler and I own, so it was like all the food and shelter that we needed, plus all of that. I bet we had 60
So how long
pound
did y'all
packs.
stay down there?
Stupid short amount of time.
Day
2
and a half?
nights. Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2 nights. It was basically a day and a half. Unfortunately, I wish we could have stayed one more, but more than that, like I think it would have been because there's not you can't just go exploring down in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of pick your hole and you're going to be there for a few days. Like you just kind of cliff out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you're going down the side of the river and it's deep holes, so you're not wading any of it. You know. Is unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just...
That's all there is to it. Be here May 5th. That's all
Exactly.
I can say.
Yeah, be here May 5th.
That is awesome. That's the one trip. I'm like, yeah, I'm jealous of you guys.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, it was, man. The next thing I would probably talk about here is we just have done a few turkey episodes recently that we've talked about. Like, we don't have turkeys here where out where we live. One of the few parts in the country. But if you travel to western Texas or southern or the hill country, I mean, Texas has some birds. And my personal experience has been like, I don't know, Breckenridge, Graham area, out west all the way out to, we hunted a place called Blackwell. It's like a ghost town out in West Texas one time. And we've had some great turkey hunts on like daily type things, like $50 a day, a guy or whatever. And the first time, I believe it was in Blackwell, was the first bird that I ever killed. And Cody Beaver and myself, who was a past guest on the podcast, we did the 1, 2, 3 thing on a bunch of jakes that came flying in, and it was unbelievable. And I mean, it didn't matter how long the beard or the spurs were; it was awesome. And they came flying in. We did 1, 2, 3, 20 yards, 2 jakes done. It was awesome, and we did see the largest jackrabbit I've ever will see. Okay, so you know how like Shaq or Yao Ming is like a freak of a human, This was what this jackrabbit was. I thought it was a deer running past our 4-wheeler. I'm not kidding, like 40 pounds. I'm not kidding. I know I was younger at the time, but like, man.
Sure that wasn't a jackalope?
It might have been a jackalope.
Yeah, it could have been. Well, those little baby deer that live down there.
Mystical
it's really hard to
jackalope.
tell.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, those jackalopes have been known to be a Texas animal of residency.
Okay. So, I'm going to go with Lake Calcasieu, Louisiana.
Oh.
Yeah,
So we've talked about Port O'Connor and we talked about Padre. So Lake Calcasieu, like around Lake Charles.
Yeah.
So basically about 30 miles east of the Sabine River outside of Texas. The cool thing is that you can get into tailing redfish 5 hours from Dallas.
Dude.
You don't have to go all the way down to Port O'Connor to find redfish.
Yeah.
Kayak friendly.
Oh,
Cool.
Especially on the east side.
Yeah.
Buddy of mine that his in-laws live there in Lake Charles. We went and stayed with them. Spent a couple days fishing down there out of kayaks. Some really cool like no motor zones set up for kayaks on the west side. So we went there, found some redfish, found some specks, and then met up with a cousin of his, and we went down one of the side canals catfishing at night doing jug lines.
Oh, cool, man. Salt and fresh.
Yeah, so yeah, really cool trip. And for the guys looking to do redfish, I'd say it's Rockport, Port O'Connor quality, but 2 hours less drive.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Especially if you're up here in Dallas and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Might have to do that.
Cool. Well,
Definitely worth checking out.
I'm going to stay in the boot, but go way down to the tip, Venice, Louisiana. And this probably isn't going where you think it is, but I'm going to say this is a don't go. Okay? Now, Venice is a great place, and it's a great fishery, but it's one of those situations where I was young and dumb and running around with some adults who are family members of mine, and we decided we were going to drive all night to Venice because we needed to work that Friday and then make it down the next day.
Y'all are all about that life.
Man, you know it. So we drove all night long. On the way, got lost in Nolan's and ended up in a neighborhood we did not need to be in at 3 a.m.
French Quarter.
I don't know where it was, dude, but there was a very scary-looking woman walking down the road, and I was like 11. I was freaked out. And this cop pulls up and says, "What are y'all doing down here?" Not like, "Hey, can I help y'all?" He was like concerned about our safety, and he's like, "Follow me." So he gets us back on the highway, headed south.
Must have been over there in Algiers or Ninth Ward.
I don't know where we were, man, but he was like, he knew we weren't supposed to be there. So it was a rough deal. We drive to Venice, show up at Venice about 5. We're going to leave at 6. We've booked with this guy who had no business being a guide. Mm-hmm. Just, rich kid with a boat. Took us out, beat us to death in rough seas, going way too fast. And we caught like 3 yellowfins that were like 20-pounders. So, I mean, it was cool. We catch the fish, but there was, so much more we could have done in Venice, Louisiana, besides to go 50 miles offshore in search of tuna. First of all, there's tuna like, 10 or 12 miles offshore there sometimes of the year, and then you're in like redfish Mecca, right? So, like, what are we doing driving there to go do that? But, anyways, go, but be informed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to head us on to the east a bit. And we did a trip when I was in college on a spring break when I was actually in college. And, I won't talk about how the trip ended until a little bit later maybe, but, I'm going to mix the couple of trips together. We did a couple summers ago, we did another trip that was out this way. And so Atlanta is where I'm talking about. And North Georgia. This is the trip that we did most recent, where my dad and I went up, and he's not a fly fisherman, but I took him fly fishing, and to I think it's pronounced Consauga River, and it is a trout destination, but there are red-eye bass there, and they are beautiful, like dark-colored with like neon blue bellies. Awesome fish. And I thought they were Suwannee bass until, that's what apparently the Georgia Wildlife webpage says, that they're red-eye bass.
Yeah.
But they're really awesome. I think you would definitely want to go kind of early in the year rather than later in the summer because the water levels can get kind of low on you. But we drove through Atlanta, and while you're in Atlanta, you have to go to the Atlanta World Aquarium there. Amazing. They flew rocks, like reef rocks, in from Fiji by helicopter into this place. There's a tank that you cannot see across it that at the time I believe had 6 whale sharks in it.
Oh, wow.
They have a 40-foot whale shark in there.
Oh, dang.
In the tank. And sea turtles in there swimming around with them, and rays and sharks, and it's unbelievable. I'm telling you. And they got, all the touching tanks. I touched a hammerhead shark. I mean, just it's unreal, man. You have to go if you're ever in Atlanta to the World Aquarium.
All right. Well, I'm going to counteract what Casey said. And you need to go to Louisiana. And you need to go red fishing.
Yeah.
So, I've been down in Louisiana several times for redfish trips, and I love Texas. I'm a Texan. I've got a redfish tattoo on myself.
All right.
That's got the Texas flag on it.
So on your butt?
No.
Okay. Good.
But bar none, the best redfish are in Louisiana. Size and numbers. To go there and see a 20-pound redfish is not unusual. To go in the winter and catch a 30-pound redfish, not unheard of.
It's crazy.
My best 2 days of red fishing were in November in Louisiana, actually fishing just north of Venice, where I caught 20 fish over 20 pounds, 3 fish over 30 pounds, all on flies. And people were like, "Oh, you got to be a good caster." Nah, dude. I literally threw a fly at a fish off the side of the boat. It ate 20-pound redfish. I just threw my fly at it, and it ate the fly. So I'm going to give – you've got to go Louisiana. You got to do redfish. Even if you don't go in the wintertime when the big bulls are there, rest of the year there's 10, 15-pound redfish. Like 30 fish days is not that uncommon.
Yeah, that's killer, man.
Yeah.
That's
got to
cool.
go do that. Got to go down there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go to the pretty much opposite shoreline of where you're talking about, the North Shore of Minnesota, way up there near the Canadian border, Boundary Waters area. I actually haven't been to the Boundary Waters, but
Is that Lake Minnetonka?
no, I haven't been there either. I fished all the little stuff.
I just want to go fish that one because of Prince.
Yeah. Dude, that's the deal. People up there love Prince. Purple Rain, man. They're all about it. My mom's from Minnesota, so that's kind of where I get this love from. But just taking that North Shore Highway up, Duluth and on up around all the way up to Ely. My granddad was from Ely. It's literally the land of 10,000 lakes, and there's probably double that. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much fishable water there is in Minnesota. And some of them are going to hold some giant fish. I mean, I never got any of the giant, Lakers or anything like that. But, dude, I caught some big yellow perch, and they are delicious. And it's pretty stinking cool.
Everyone talks about perch. I've never been able to catch perch because I want to taste how good they are. Everyone's like, oh, perch is like the best fish you'll ever eat.
Yeah, they're good stuff, man. It's worth going for that. But everybody's going to tell you to go, catch walleye or lake trout or whatever it is. And that's the cool thing, man, is that those cold water fisheries up there hold so many species of fish, And it's so strange that, and we're going off on a tangent here, but, the fact that pike and muskie exist in the same place, they're so similar and they're completely different species. It's weird that they could both develop, there. But anyways,
cool.
I digress. But
So I'm going to stay in that area. And when I was younger, we did a vacation up to Lake Michigan. And we stayed in a beach house. And there was just sand dunes, man, no AC, which is hideous to think about if you're in Texas, but it was, obviously comfortable enough to do that thing. We had campfire on the beach. It was awesome. And I think you could do this camping out. I'm sure you could. We didn't at the time. But we took a charter out for kings, and it was bad to the bone, man. And I don't know how big they were, but they were some of the biggest fish, if not the biggest I had ever caught on rod and reel, and they just pulled like a freight train. And we were in them constantly, We had 4 people on the boat, and there was never a dull moment. You were like next man up in no time, So it was really cool.
All right, well, I'm going to bring it back to Texas, South Padre Island, but unlike Casey said, the north side on the National Seashore, I'm going to talk about Port Mansfield all the way down to Arroyo City. So if you're looking for white sands on the flats, tail and redfish, and that whole classic tail and redfish, we always talk about, this is the place to do it. So it's a lot like fishing for bonefish down in Mexico. Mexico is 10 miles south of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not that far-fetched.
Yeah.
But to find that classic tailing fish on the white sands is absolutely beautiful. White sands, crystal clear water, ankle deep, redfish everywhere. You can't go, 2 minutes without finding a redfish somewhere. So, but the other cool thing is you've got huge trout. The state record trout, 17 pounds caught on the fly, was from there on the Laguna Madre. Mm-hmm. And if you time it right in the summertime, you've got tarpon that are in there, and then snook as well. So, a Texas snook, if you want to catch one, which I've been lucky enough to catch a few of them down there. So I've got the Texas snook crossed off my list.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, Laguna Madre, down there, Arroyo City, Port Mansfield, and even going all the way up to King Ranch Shoreline. Mm-hmm. It's wholly worth putting on your list.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm going to bring it home. What I grew up doing, and it is worth the destination. All right, and there's other places to do this as well, but find you an East Texas river bottom, get you 4 or 5 buddies, get in a line with shotguns, and act like you're pheasant hunting, but instead you got 3.5-inch double-up buckshots, and you're chasing hogs. And I'm telling you, it is the time of your life. It is literally one of the greatest experiences that you can have whenever you got guys lined up and you're driving them and you're chasing them, and it's wild, man. Mm-hmm. It is super cool. And whenever you've got an animal that's such a worthy beast to hunt, it's just pretty sweet getting after the hogs and the bottoms.
I'll never forget the first couple times that I hunted with KC and we jumped pigs. And he it was the first time that I'd ever been with somebody that did this, but he took off after them, like running. And everybody I always knew was like, oh, they'll snap at you, they'll be scared of them. And I'm like, this dude just is running he's like a dog running into the middle and just busting them everywhere, trying to break them off. But
on flat ground, able-bodied human can outrun a pig.
Yeah.
But they can cut way faster than you. So you can catch up with them if you're spry going through the woods. Sometimes you fall real hard, but otherwise.
Sometimes your bow gets caught on a limb or something. We've seen that happen. Cool. I'll stay at home then. I feel like I'm just kind of following y'all around. I don't know if y'all care about that, but I'm not that creepy, I don't feel like. The hybrids, they're hybrid stripers, so they're a mix between a sand bass or a white bass for those who don't know what a sand bass is, and a striper. Out on Lake Tawakoni during the summertime, they school by the acre, and it is so much fun. My senior year in high school, we really got after them. We were pretty mad at them, and we would basically go down by the dam there, and out in that open water, you just kind of look for the birds, and you go, and we're throwing those storm swim baits, that are like 4 inches, and they're just hammering shad out there, and you just basically you can get the big motor going and pull pretty close up to them, troll in as they're schooling every time you see them come up, and start chunking baits out there, and it's just a matter of seconds before they slam it, and they're 3 to 7 pounds, and they're shaped like a dinner plate, and they know how to use that shape, and it's like, that's just, you can't, I'm talking my ribs would just be hurting after catch like 45 of them in an afternoon, It was so much fun.
Well, I'm going to follow up with your hybrids, but bring it home we're going to just go a little bit west of there, Cedar Creek.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Cedar Creek, nighttime dock fishing for hybrids.
Really?
Yes. So one of the coolest things I've done, within around the whole Dallas area, buddy of mine's like, hey, man, let's go dock fishing Cedar Creek at night. Cool. So I meet him down there. And, we were fishing 8 weights, big clouser, 16-pound test. We had fish breaking 16-pound test on the take.
Oh, man.
And it was. You just get on the trolling motor. You go around, you find dock lights, cast around the edge of the light, start stripping that fly, and they would just come there and whack your fly out of nowhere. We were catching 10, 15-pound hybrids.
Oh, my goodness.
And, just all around the dock lights.
What time of year?
Oh, man. I'd say this was probably summertime. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was because it wasn't that cold. It might have been late summer, maybe going into fall. But, it was just dock fishing the lights. And it's I've only done it one time. And it was really one of the most fun things I've done. I said it's on my list. I got to go back and do that.
Yeah.
So, absolutely blast.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So, what I'm going to talk about is one of those bad experiences, okay? My first saltwater trip ever. My dad and granddad wanted to show me what it's all about. We go to Port Aransas and get us 3 tickets on, I think, the Scat Cat. You know what I'm talking about?
I laugh because one of the guys that works for me was a deckhand on the Scat Cat.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about Scat Cat. They call it the Shitty Kitty.
Yeah. Yeah. That and the Wharf Cat, I think, was another one or something. But what it is it's a party boat. And it's not like go out there and party. It just means that you have a bunch of people, I think 75, and they all have pin center to 4/0, and you all put a ribbon fish on with 3 hooks, and you drop it down, and everybody gets tangled up together, and somebody pulls up a kingfish. You don't know who. And it is terrible. I caught one sandbar shark that they kept, and I'm pretty sure now was not long enough to keep, so the deckhands didn't follow the law on the thing. But
he's got some stories.
Yeah, when you get 75 people on a boat, they're all tangled up. They speak 3 different languages, and half of them are throwing up. It is a terrible, terrible experience. So don't do that, guys.
Okay, well, I'll give us something good to think about here. And I think you can't go wrong. I know this is general, but Midwest whitetail hunting is just one of the coolest things ever. If you're in ag country, out in the Midwest, you're going to probably be seeing lots of deer. There's lots of public spots to be going in the Midwest overall because, I mean, the great thing about the whitetail is it's a big game animal that doesn't need a whole lot of cover to hide. You know what I'm saying? So you find you 160 acres, you're liable, you know, to find a decent deer on it. And if nothing else, you're going to be seeing them and learning. It's going to be action-packed. And you always have a great chance of a big corn-fed buck showing up, you know. Anywhere in the Midwestern states, I think is pretty awesome for deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
During the rut. Go during the rut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just do it. I mean, there'll be more people there, but you'll see a lot of deer.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw in one of my hunting spots. This is a place called Bucksnag Hunting Club down in Garwood, Texas. So Garwood is down there on that Katy Prairie rice country. Mm-hmm. And Bucksnag is one of those historic hunt clubs that's been around for decades. They've got an old hotel there in downtown Garwood you go and stay at. Food is phenomenal. They got a big open bar. But then the duck hunting is freaking out of this world. So been lucky enough to go hunt down there a couple times. So had some really good duck hunts on these rice fields. Had a pretty decent hunt for snows. But then the only time I ever got to shoot a big old sandhill crane was down there. Mm-hmm. So I got to do that about 2 years ago. Go my first sandhill crane. And I would say Bucksnag is awesome, but if you ever get the opportunity to go crane hunting, go do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about like dinosaurs of the sky. Flying over, looking like B-24 bombers trying to blitz Berlin.
It's like a person falling out of the sky.
It really is. That you hear them, because we were sitting there and the guide's like, there's a roost that's about 400 yards out. We're going to get in a latrine, which was just, that's what they called a big old ditch. Mm-hmm. We got in this ditch and we're sitting there and you hear this, and it gets louder and just crescendos louder and louder and louder. You're like, these things got to be on top of us. You kind of peek out. You're like, no, dude, they're only like halfway here.
Dude, they're the loudest.
And then they finally get over you, and the guy's like, take them. And you look up, and you're like, oh, my goodness. Which dinosaur do I want to shoot? And then you shoot one, and it comes like helicoptering out of the sky. And you're like, don't land on me, please. Don't land on me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's one of the coolest things I've got to hunt.
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to stick with the hunting theme for a little bit. And I'm going to say hunt the Texas hill country in the rut for whitetails. All right. Now, it's kind of like what you just talked about in the Midwest, except in the Texas hill country, the deer are 1/3 the size, but there's 3 times as many. They have the same biomass probably.
Yeah.
But there's literally hundreds. I mean, sitting in a tripod stand, having corn in the general area in a feeder somewhere, you can count 100 deer in an afternoon.
Oh, it's so fun.
It is crazy. And a lot of them will be 2- and 3-year-old 8-points. They're plenty to keep you busy. If you rattle horns, they're going to come in like, you know, wild Indians running in there. It's so cool, man. It's just like the true Texas experience of whitetail hunting. You know, well, like, I guess there's many ways to say that, I guess. But it is one of the coolest things, man. Just to get to go down there and see that many deer in a day is just so much fun.
It's great. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I did some hill country hunting. It's been a while, but
yeah,
it's fun. You're going to see something, man, every time you go out, so it's exciting. Kind of back to the east here, back to the Gulf Coast. I've done a few different hunts, similar to what Sean said, for waterfowl, and like the main quarry is geese. In the El Campo area, which is, but I think like my main thing is here is the kind of Gulf Coast rice field waterfowl hunting. So it could be we've hunted down in Gaydon, Louisiana, and some in El Campo there, and man, you know, like I think we've had probably a hunt or two just because we've hunted more that were better than in Texas than we did in Louisiana. But the cool thing about going to Louisiana is you get to see that culture like you talked about at the beginning of the podcast. You get to meet the people and the guides. like they have such a small culture that has a just very original way of talking, and like you'll never hear anybody else outside of that small part of the U.S. talk like that, you know. And our guide down there, he was mouth calling geese, you know, loud as could be, you know, just kind of crazy, you know. And we went to a restaurant down there. It's called Black's Restaurant, and dude, I had this crawfish etouffee that was just out of this world. Put me to sleep in the booth, and which isn't hard to do, you know, if it's late. But man, it's so cool because you got the snow geese that are just hordes of them, and you'll literally lay down at night and you will see them when you close your eyes, and you will hear them in your mind. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just because you've been hearing them all day by the thousands. You got the chance to kill, crane when you do that kind of hunting as well. And a lot of times, like if you're doing a guided thing, they'll take you out on like a little rice paddy for ducks in the afternoon. It's just, and another thing is, like, if you're a snowbird, if you live up north or something, the weather usually is pretty good. It never gets too cold, you know, down there in South Texas and in Louisiana. So it's an enjoyable hunt late in the season.
Well, I'm going to go and stamp my passport for the first time.
All right.
So we're going to go all the way down to South America to the country called Bolivia.
Oof.
So, yeah. It's formerly known as a cocaine capital of the world. Mm-hmm. Cool. But now has a really awesome fishery program. So got the opportunity to go down there to fish on the Shamane River and Pluma Rivers with the local Indian tribes. And we were down there hunting for the golden dorado, which is a freshwater species. Best way to describe it is a fish which is teeth like a pike, jumps like a rainbow, and fights like a tarpon. And
so it's the ultimate species.
It is. It's an awesome fish. There is no subtle take. Dorados don't mess around. They hit your fly, and you know that that's a dorado. You don't really have to set the hook. They pretty much set themselves.
So you don't is it not clear enough most of the time to see them?
No, it is. Yeah, you see them. So that's it. We were there this unusual time so you're at the foothills of the Andes Mountains. It rained up in the mountains. You see the Andes Mountains in the background. It rained. The water came up. Then it came back down, which usually means it'll clear up. It never really got clear. It stayed muddy. So we had a couple days of really tough fishing, but you would see these big, like 30-pound golden orbs under the water. Mm. And the guide's like, there's one. Okay. They didn't refuse flies. You put your fly in front of its face, it would eat.
Man.
It literally was. It was like, there's one, boom. There's one, boom. There's one, boom. And these were all like 30-pound fish.
Oh, my gosh.
That just like wrecked your stuff. So we were fishing 40-pound wire on our leaders. And 40-pound wire, we had to replace about every third fish.
Oh, my goodness.
Flies would last like 2 fish.
Golly, man.
Putting on new flies. So the fish was one of the coolest fish I ever caught. But the local Indian tribe runs you up and down the river on dugout canoes. Like these 24-foot-long dugout canoes with mud motors on the back from Thailand. That, like, you're afraid to, shift too far left or right because you might tip the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It was, and then just incredible. We saw, like, jaguar prints. Never saw a jaguar. One of our guys in the group saw one. Saw peacocks, howler monkeys. Apparently it's unusual to see ducks down there. We saw some type of duck. One of the groups, their Indian guide shot a turkey while we were down there because the locals can only have a 22 shot. They can carry the local people can have a single shot 22. That's the only firearm.
Really?
So this like old Indian guy had one that the barrel was smooth from freaking so many shots through it.
Yeah.
Held together with duct tape. I don't know how he aimed the thing. There was no sights on it, but that's what he hunted with.
Wow.
So going back to the whole experience of like experiencing other cultures, seeing how other people live, Yeah, because these people have like nothing, dude. They are like 10 years ago they didn't have white people down there.
It's crazy.
Now, like you land in we take these little like 4-seat Cessnas, land on dirt strips, and the kids from the village come run out to meet the planes because the pilots are carrying bread, just like a sack of dinner rolls, and they hand out dinner rolls to the kids, and the kids think that's the coolest thing ever because they never had bread before.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, it was just so cool. Like one of the coolest things, and like the camps are run by some dudes from Argentina. So like you're sitting there talking to Argentinians, and my guide for the week was like a horse trainer, trained elephants. Lives down in Argentina. He said he lived for a year by himself out in the jungle. Golly. And it's just amazing to talk to these people and see what they've done and experience their culture. So
yeah.
He didn't have any mountain house out there, did he?
No, dude. We did have a shore lunch. So this is the cool thing. So the local Indian tribe, they have these bows, like these 6-foot long bows. They make their own arrows. The arrows are about 5 feet long. They've got tips for fish, tips for birds, and tips for large game. And you guys in podcast land can't see it, but we've got a set of it up here on the wall at the shop, the different tips and everything. So cool. I brought one of them home with me. But so you're sitting there like fishing, and the local tribe is sitting there they're bow fishing for the sabalo, which are these big like bait fish that are running up, and that's what everything's feeding on. And so they fixed one of those for us. But like if it looks like they can eat it, they're trying to kill it. So like every time we saw like a good sized bird, they were trying to shoot one of these birds. They were shooting fish on the side. So they did a shore lunch for us with one of the fish and everything. There's pigs down there. So if I ever get a chance to go back, what I want to do is tell the tribe, I said, look, I don't want to fish today. I want to go hunting. Give me a bow. We're going hunting today.
Yeah.
Show me what it's like in the jungle.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, man.
It's
really
killer.
That is by far like the coolest trip I've done.
Yeah.
So
That's an experience we all strive for, something that cool. And it's funny because my next one is like a place people go to like kind of want a wild experience, but it ends up being super tame, but there's still cool stuff. So it is Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and super heavily visited national park, okay? Ton of people. You'll see like these dudes with trekking poles who are like just getting after it, and then like 5-year-olds just running up the same trail, and you're like, okay, come on, what's the deal here? But I guess they're training, I don't know. But like people everywhere, right? And you're like, how on earth can I fish here? And then you go down and you blue line these creeks right next to these trails where all these people are walking, nobody's fishing, and there are the most beautiful gems of brook trout that are native to these streams right there, and they're the most willing and eager thing to take a fly. A lot like your Golden Dorados, except instead of 40-pound wire, you're talking 5X, and they still will ravage a fly. You know, like all you need is a PA and size 12, and they'll smoke it, and you'll have to tie on a new one every 4 or 5 because they'll just destroy it. Not to mention also the numerous amounts of wild rainbows that are in the Smoky Mountains and some of those rivers up there too that are the most beautifully barred rainbows I've ever seen in my life. They're speckled up. You just would swear it's not even the same fish. It's not even the same species. So cool place to go, and it's kind of almost a farce of what nature's supposed to be. Sometimes you can get back and get some of the thick stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like it is super easy to get to the good fishing. I mean, it is right there off the path.
So I have that segues into one of mine, but that would be my last positive note. So I'm going to leave that for the end of this podcast and go to a couple of negative notes here. One being, and I don't want to discourage anybody with these to go try to do better than I could, because that is a high possibility that you could do that. But Casey and I went to the LBJ National Grasslands last year, and we tried to hunt some turkeys. We were 2 weeks or more after opening day. And I feel like if we'd have been at opening day, we might have had a little better chance. But turkeys are pretty sparse out there. It can be done. There's no doubt. We saw tracks. We had a bird roosted right on the other side of private. And probably would have come to us if there hadn't been a gigantic creek in between us and him. We heard some birds. We got on some hens. We were close range to some hens, we had to work for it, definitely. We were 2.5 miles back at one point when we were close to those hens. And but it was a lot of work for what would end up being a little meat. and I mean, it would be more about the experience and the just the accomplishment to have gotten that done on public land in Texas, But overall, we're not going back this year, and I think that says, not that we won't try it again, but that kind of says, may not be your best bet, and if you do go out there, maybe try it on opening weekend, which there's probably going to be more people, but birds still wouldn't be as pressured probably.
Well, I'm not going to be such a downer. All right, so I'm going to keep on my international theme and talk about a fishing destination a lot of people tend to go to, and that is Ambergris Caye, Belize, also the town of San Pedro. Mm-hmm. So this is a destination we send a lot of people down to, and I've been down there a few times. So Ambergris is a really kind of a unique spot that it is one of those places you can go to. It's 3-hour flight from Dallas, direct flight, and then it's a 10-minute puddle jumper to get out there. So fairly easy to get to.
So it's an island or an atoll?
It's an island. So so Ambergris Caye is the biggest island in Belize. It's about 30 miles from the mainland, but it's about 30 miles long. And the only reason it's considered an island because there's a creek that separates it from Mexico. So think of it's more like a peninsula with a creek, goes to the middle of the peninsula, so it, in fact, becomes an island. And so Ambergris gets a lot of tourist traffic. A lot of people go down there to San Pedro, lots of resorts and hotels and condos and stuff to rent. But there's also some fairly decent fishing opportunities. So there's a lot of bonefish down there, some permit, some tarpon. And this is a place that I would say, if you're looking to kind of get your feet wet, so to speak, in the whole fishing for the big three, the bonefish, permit, tarpon, this is a good place to go. The bonefish, they're a little on the smaller side, but they're plentiful. Mm-hmm. So lots of people go down there, catch their first bonefish. Pretty decent permit fishing. Traditionally, permit have been really small, but this past year, they've actually seen some pretty good size to them. But the cool thing is that unlike a lot of other places, like lodge-type places that you go there, you take your wife, your girlfriend, they're going to be bored out of their mind because there's nothing to do. Here you can go, stay at a nice hotel, stay at a lodge. There's the full amenities. They do the spa, they sit on the beach, sit by the pool, do all that. And then at night you can take a water taxi, go into town, have dinner, go to a bar. So it's not like, you're just there on a fishing trip. It's actually – you can vacation while you're there. Mm-hmm. So this is, I'm going to give the fishing 50%. The wife is happy with you 100%.
Now we're talking.
So so this is the good wife, girlfriend type trip to go
Pretty
on.
safe.
It is.
Yeah.
So Belize, it's a English speaking country. Now Belize City, I wouldn't hang out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
San Pedro. Be careful where you go in San Pedro. The way that I look at it, if I look down the street, I see other gringos, we're good.
Yeah.
If there ain't any other Americans, don't get on that street. And I would say that goes for just about any place in the world.
Yeah, sure.
But Belize, San Pedro has been relatively safe. I keep up with a local newspaper down there. In the last couple months, it's gotten there's been some murders. But it's been Belize on Belize crime. And what I've heard, it's because of more and more marijuana has been legalized in the States. Less people are going down there. And so because of that, the gangs are fighting for more territory. But it's like you stay in the tourist areas, you're totally fine. Because, in fact, the Belize government's been addressing that here lately because they realize, hey, that's it's where our dollars come from. Mm-hmm. We're here because of the tourists. So
yeah,
I would still go down there. Just like any other place. Like there's places in Dallas I don't go to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
keep your head on a swivel.
Sure.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. So my last negative one, short and sweet. All right. I spent too much time this past year here in the eastern half of Texas sweating my tootie off in a tree stand on the opening weekend of deer season. All right? I know we're all excited to get out and deer hunt, but dadgummit, there's so many more opportunities, fishing and hunting-wise, to do in the first week of October than to get out there and just sweat and sweat and sweat. You know?
Mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes are ridiculous. Ticks are crazy. It's hot. You don't have to see any deer. They're all out at night, unless you're super lucky. There's just better things to do with your time. Yeah. And I'm all about time efficiency. So, my last negative one, no first weekend of whitetail in archery.
I'm with you there. I have one more negative as well, because I just didn't want to talk about them the whole time.
Yeah.
But don't go coyote hunting in northern Missouri in January when you live in Texas.
That doesn't even sound remotely fun.
Okay, so here's the story.
It sounds cold.
It was really very cold. It was like single-digit cold. I had a couple of buddies who we ran around hunting some together, and one of them had talked to an outfitter up there who, I don't know, I guess we thought we were going to do some video work for this guy, possibly for his outfit. In the first step of that was like coming up and do some coyote hunting and filming up there. This guy, typical outfitter guy. Like, there are a few outfitters out there that are legitimate, try to be honest, do the right thing, put you on the right fish. But this guy was just, we didn't see a coyote. We barely saw a deer up there. I mean, this is like northern Missouri, like ag country, like, you know, should be good stuff. I don't know how many hunts he had going on that place a year. But anyway, we hunted a couple days and did not see a single coyote, didn't call anything in. Spent a lot of time jacking with video equipment for no reason. And that ended up being a 10-plus hour trip where, by the way, we took a trailer. I was dead broke, dude. We were touring at the time. Didn't have any money, and they like talked me into, oh, we got to go, man. This is like team deal, you know, whatever. And we end up driving up there in a truck with like decent tires on it, you know, older Chevy, doesn't have the best gas mileage. We decided to put a trailer on it, and because we think we're going to have too much gear. And the trailer, literally, when we opened it, when we got there, I was like, what are we doing? It's got 3 boxes in it, little boxes. There's nothing in this trailer. And so, you know, I had to split gas on the way up there with them. I knew, you know, like, we're going up there to kill coyotes. We got plenty of coyotes here. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was just it was a debacle, and it was something that was definitely not worth spending your money or time on, I don't think.
Yeah, cold weather.
Cold. It was very cold.
No.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to warm it up a little bit.
Please.
So I got 2 more places to go on my list. So I'm going to start off with Turniff Atoll back in the country of Belize. Mm-hmm. So this is a cool spot. It's about 30 miles offshore. It's this little atoll, which is basically this coral head that popped up eons ago, and it's like 10 miles wide, 30 miles long, but it's got these massive amounts of flats sitting out there, covered in big bonefish and permit. And so there's a place out there called Turniff Flats Lodge I've been to. It is that, and the next place I'll talk about, like my toss-up for my 2 favorite places to fish. And so the cool thing about this is that you go out there and you get to walk around and fish on foot. So if you got a partner and you're splitting a boat, you both get to fish at the same time. Which a lot of places you're taking turns on the bow, like waiting for that guy to catch a fish, or waiting for your 30 minutes before you get to jump up there. But now it's like you both get to go out there, you both chasing bonefish, and then when the permit pops up, you change out your rig, take on the permit rig, go there and chase a permit on foot. And then if you time it during the summertime, you get migratory tarpon. And so there's another lodge out there that's a little bit further south I've been to, which is fantastic accommodations, but if you go to Turner Flats, they allow you to fish in front of the lodge. So on the island, you can fish. So in the mornings, I'd fix a cup of coffee, go chase bonefish for like 30 minutes, come back, go to breakfast, then jump on the boats and go. And then in the afternoons, you can do the same thing. So absolutely incredible place. The cool thing about fishing out there on the atoll is that because it's all coral, there's no mud, that if it rains, it doesn't muddy up. It's always clear water.
That's awesome.
So really, you're just dealing with the wind. And because the flats are so big that you can actually walk around to get to where the wind is at your favor when you're chasing the schools. So
cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I've actually looked at that atoll on the internet before.
Yeah.
My wife and I have.
Yeah, my wife and I have too.
We're going to need a little money.
We all talk about Belize a lot.
Yeah,
One
we
day.
do.
So May of 2019, there's a hosted trip going out to Turnif. I still got like 7 spots left.
Well,
I would love for you to host me.
yes.
I would too.
Yeah.
We could get the big house.
Hey, I'm all about
I like the big house.
like big houses and big fishes.
I'll take the 10 on Turnip, man. All right. So for me, there's 2 places that I really, really like. Like I said, you had 2, I have 2. I'm gonna go with this one, and then another one will be very similar. But Tyler, our first trip together was one that he had to talk me into going on because I was poor and trying to buy a engagement ring at the time, and was trying to just scrape every penny together. But he talked me into going to the Black River in Arizona. I'm like, dude, why are we going to the desert to go fish? I don't understand what is happening. And then you get there, and all of a sudden there's mountains, and there's cold rivers, and there's elk, and there's antelope, and there's black bears, and mule deer, and what else did we see? A ton.
Desert sheep. Or
bighorns.
Bighorns, yeah.
And we saw whitetail, too, while we were there. And lo and behold, there is this little bitty native fish, and I love native fish. Natives are my thing, called the Apache trout. And we hiked and scoured the land in the Black River or the water in the Black River for Apache trout, and finally found a little high corner that held them pretty tight. And Tyler and I both caught Apache trout, and that was just
They're little bitty.
a little bitty. And they get
That's
bigger.
awesome, though. That's Apaches, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's fantastic. The fact you called an Apache trout, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
They're in a spot where not many people, you don't just like drive by it on your way somewhere, you know, and so I feel like it's one of those trout that not many people have
Yeah,
caught.
and I think the cool thing about those ones we caught is that like those fish are probably untampered. There's other Apache trout out there that are like restocked and this and that, but where we were, man, like those are what's supposed to be there.
So you'd call them heritage breeds.
Yes. It
I
sounds
like
good to
that.
me. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So it was just a sick, just awesome experience. You just literally go from desert straight up a mountain, and you're in, just alpine, cool country.
And on the way, we passed by a lava flow.
Yes, the lava flow
So,
was
like,
awesome.
how far off the beaten path did you have to go? Like, when y'all parked the truck?
Not far, really.
Well, from where the truck was parked, probably 3/4 of a mile, something like that. But I mean,
How far did you have to drive the truck off the beaten path?
we were on a logging road for probably 3 or 4 miles, something like that. Like a 4-wheel drive road.
That's not okay.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but like it's in a place that's remote, like we're
The
saying.
other thing that kind of made the trip is that like there's that, and then there's this other section of the river that literally has more browns than you can catch. And of course, they're all small stream fish, which is one of my loves. But as many 4 to 10 inch brown trout as you could ever hope to catch all day long.
And then we fished a lower section of the river, which is where we saw the bighorns, and it was just amazing. Like
bigger fish, rainbows, cut bows.
And that like 13 to 15, tons of 13 to 15s, and they were everywhere.
And there was more crayfish than you could ever imagine. So throwing a crayfish-like streamer paid off pretty big.
Yeah.
But you saw desert bighorns.
We did.
Yeah.
It's close.
Dude,
I mean, I guess they're deserts. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would guess those are deserts.
Probably.
And they were bighorn sheep.
Yeah.
See.
With coos deer, same area. Right
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
That's awesome.
It was cool. It was cool, man. And they were right there close to the river. I got some cool pictures. We did a little video of it. KC caught an Apache bow.
Yeah, a patch bow or whatever you want to call it. It was a hybrid. You know, it was pretty sick.
But it looks a lot. It has a lot of Apache in it. It was like 15, 16-inch trout. I mean, it was a good trout. And we got that on camera, you know. And I only caught one actual Apache that day that I was trying to get him catching one on film, you know. I wanted him to set the hook on film and everything. And so I spent a lot of time filming him, and he ended up catching probably 4 or 5, right?
4, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was cool. It was, we did a quick turnaround. We were exhausted because it was like 16 hours out there one day, fish one day, fish the next day, and then turn around and leave the next morning for 16 hours back. And so it was.
Oh, my, dude.
It was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal. The trip back, we got real tired.
And we got destroyed by a hailstorm.
Oh, yeah. My truck, which was a fairly new truck at the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
to me,
man.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
pretty crazy trip.
Driven to Tucson, dude, and that like took 2 days. I can't imagine.
We were getting it. We
One
left
straight.
at 4 a.m. from Sulphur Springs, and we got there with some time to fish and set up camp.
Yeah.
We fished like 30 minutes maybe.
Yeah, caught a fish that night, though.
You did, yeah.
The old
a
chick
good brown.
Chick nymphing, man. That's what it fly.
He did, the check nymph thing, for sure.
It's hardcore.
Okay. This is my final thought here.
All right.
Final destination. Speaking of heritage breeds. KC talked about this a couple ago, but the Smoky Mountains. Mm-hmm. And I had also kind of alluded to this earlier when I talked about Atlanta, but our trip, when we went to the aquarium the first time in Atlanta, was on this trip. And then we hoofed it up, and we went to North Carolina. And so we went to the east side of Smoky Mountains National Park, which is a lot less people, a lot less tourists. The road in was awesome. Big, national forest winds around big roads or big mountains. And then we come into, I believe it's Catalahoochee is the name of the valley. Catalahoochee Valley on the east side of the park in North Carolina. And you come into this valley, and it's a beautiful valley. Meadows and such, and all of a sudden you just kind of this like settler pioneer town just pops up. That's nobody lives there anymore. It's like a preserved historical spot, and there's like a church and like a hay barn, a cemetery, and like all these things from pioneers that settled that valley back a long time ago. And then right outside of town, there's a creek that kind of goes through town. And right outside of town. Dead ends, and there's a creek right there, and I don't remember the name of the creek, but I had researched this before we went, and we just walked up the creek, and I think we went like a mile and a half. I mean, I could have just fished up the creek to where we camped, but there was native brook trout there. That's all the way up the creek, and they were small. They were biggest one I caught was 6 inches probably, but I was dry flying. It didn't, like I said, didn't matter what you put in there. You just throw a little dry fly in the pool, and they're going to slash at it, And it was just cool. They were really pretty. There's no fight to it, really, especially at that time. I didn't have my half weight. And, small fish. Saw elk, eastern elk, that had been restocked in the area. And awesome. Turkeys as well in that valley right there. So just a really cool little spot. And we camped there for 2 nights, I believe, a mile and a half up that trail right there, and we saw one other group of people.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, come up the trail. So
fantastic,
pretty awesome. That's my last one.
All right. Well, I have saved what's been my best for last.
All right.
That is Ascension Bay, Mexico.
You say that with such distinguished look.
So, so Ascension Bay. This is, if you ever go to Cancun and you drive south to Tulum, a little hippie town, and then you take another road about 42 kilometers due south to a little village called Punta Alén, which that 42 kilometers is the absolute worst road in Mexico. Bar none. If it's rain, that's a 4-hour trip.
Ooh, my goodness.
Yeah, 4 hours to go 42. That's not 42 miles for 2 kilometers.
Those are 0.6 miles.
Yes.
Yeah.
4 hours. Or you can go an hour and a half past Tulum, then hop a 15-minute boat ride to get there, which is what I've done the last 2 times. So there's a place down there called the Palometa Club, which Palometa is Spanish for permit. And we're not talking about the permit that lets you do stuff. We're talking about the permit fish. Remember the Jack family.
Yeah.
The bane of many fly fishermen's existence. So the permit fish is probably the crown jewel of fly fishing. That is the fish that everyone's like. You ask any fly fisherman how many permit you've caught, they know exactly how many permit they've caught. There is no like, I think I've caught a 12 or I think I've caught 100. No, you know how many permit you caught because there's
doesn't happen often.
No, exactly. You know your permit count, which mine is 4. It took me 3 years to get my first. Another 3 years to get my next 3, which I did back in January on one day.
Wow.
So yeah, I have a 3 permit day, which pretty much means I've topped out my saltwater career. From here, it's pretty much the highlight reel.
That's it.
But anyway, so Ascension Bay is awesome. So the cool thing is it's about 90 square miles. You've got these like flats that just loaded with permit, and it's permit is it's a numbers game. The more you see, the more you cast, the better chance you get at hooking one. But there's also great bonefish, and there's actually some pretty decent tarpon fishing. But yet the tarpon, they're baby tarpon, so they're 20-pound tarpon, which is absolute blast. Having caught like 90-pound tarpon and caught 20-pound tarpon, give me 20-pound tarpon all day long. It's like bass fishing. They really are. They fight and they jump. It's about a 5-minute fight. You're on to the next one. You get in the 100-pound range for tarpon. It's like you're not going anywhere for the next hour and a half. And you're gonna be really tired after that. So but Ascension Bay. So talking about like the whole experience, that the village of Punta Allen, it's about 600 people, and everybody there is involved either in the tourist trade, doing eco tours, the fishing trade, or guiding. And a lot of them do all 3. And so like the guides down there at the club are just some of the best guides you've ever met. These guys are just absolute professionals. They're on the water for 8 months. They know. I had a guide that sometimes you think guides are just giving up for the day and they're just no longer fishing. They're just riding out the clock. But I've had guides that we're sitting there, we haven't seen a fish for 2 hours, and you're like, man, we only have an hour to go. These guys are just riding out the clock. That the guide will stop the boat, do a 90-degree turn, pull 200 yards, do another 90-degree turn. Now they're going upwind because they saw a little bit of a fish. And whoop, there's that fish. I mean, it's hard to describe that and you know, without being there. But yeah, these dudes, they work their tails off trying to put you on fish. But the other thing, you know, you sit there and talk to guides, and so we were down there, and I was walking back to the club with the guide, like, man, so where do you live at in this village? Because the village has, like, no paved roads, chickens running around. It looks like, you know, it's straight up third world. He's like, I live by the big tower. Big tower. He goes, oh, yeah, I do Wi-Fi for the whole city. You do Wi-Fi, like, in the computers and stuff? He's like, I have a degree in computer engineering. And you're my fishing guide? He goes, I like to guide. So, that's cool. I mean, that's just, it's amazing that you start talking to the people that you're with, and you're like, there's much more to them than, like, this dude just knows where the fish are at. Like, this dude's a computer engineer. Other guy I had, you know, he owns a freaking store up in Tulum where he sells, like, boat motors and stuff. And you're like, oh, okay, these dudes are hustlers, man. They're go-getters, so it makes them great guides as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put, like, one of my favorite spots in the world to fish is Ascension Bay, especially at the Palometa Club, because it's the club is pretty much like your friends have a house in Mexico on the beach, and you're staying at your friend's house.
That's cool.
There is no bar tab. It's like, go fix yourself a drink, grab a beer. It's all homemade Mexican food. It's like 12 people at a time. That's it. That is like The lodge is fully booked to 12 people.
Man,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
So yeah, that's
incredible.
my crown jewel of where I love to go.
That's cool,
good.
man. Well, mine's going to be similar and totally different at the same time to wrap this up. We all kind of save places that were kind of near and dear to our heart for kind of our last ones, and this is no Ascension Bay, but it's just a place that means a lot to me. And it's not really special when you look at it on the map or the fish you catch there or anything, but it's special for my own reasons, and I think that's why it's cool to me. And it might not be cool to anyone else, and you may not want to go visit there. But pretty much most roads to Colorado from where we live here take you through, southeastern Colorado, and you head up whichever direction you want to go, right? Colorado holds a special place in my heart just because that's where I learned to fly fish. It's where I learned to elk hunt. It's where I learned a lot of stuff, right? It's where I learned my kind of just drive to have adventure in general. And it never really hits that, I'm in the mountains or that I'm in Colorado until we get to this little area of Colorado. I don't remember what the big valley's called, but the town's called Westcliff, Colorado. Okay? Westcliff, Colorado is just pristine mountain town that has been mostly undiscovered. It's not been ruined by lattes and, fuzzy boots and that kind of thing. It's just mostly a bunch of people working and farming and raising cows. And that's where we always go and buy our hunting and fishing licenses because it's kind of the first decent stop we can come to. And then whenever you head north out of Westcliff, you follow Texas Creek, which is kind of cool because we're from Texas, hey, and we're in Colorado. Follow Texas Creek all the way to where it hits the Arkansas River. And just that little area right there is always really special to me because it's just, I know the smell. You know what I mean? Like the places that you remember that you've gone and love to travel to, you can remember specific things like that. I know the smell of that area. And you stopped there with me this year. And we stopped on Texas Creek and actually caught browns as soon as we got there, and it kind of kicked off the trip to the Black Canyon, man. Mm-hmm. And we caught 3 browns in no time, and it just come like a misting rain. It was just a little bit foggy, a little bit of that cool mountain touch where it's just enough for a flannel, and you're fly fishing in Texas Creek and you're wearing a flannel and you're this is what it's all about, man. This is why I travel to places, because I want to experience things that I love, but most importantly, it's special to me, and it's something that is for me, and it's a time where I can cleanse myself and kind of repurpose myself and really know what I'm about. It's separate from outside influences. It's not someone telling me that I need to go to this place or that place. It's what I love to do.
Mm-hmm. It's cool, man. Well, there you have it. I mean, you've got 60 destinations now that you have to go to.
In 60 minutes.
It's 60 minutes. We went a little long, but this is definitely going to be a record for us. But I think that we hopefully gave you some entertainment and some good stories. Sean, I appreciate you doing this, man.
Oh, glad to do it. It's been fun.
Yeah, dude.
Just opening up the fly shop here, Tailwaters Fly Shop. And I guess any plugs that we have at the end here? Make sure you check out some of the hosted trips that Tailwaters has going on if you're interested in doing some of this stuff.
Come out for Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, yeah, that's going to be good. We're all three going to be here.
Crawfish and free beer.
Man.
I mean, if there's not more of an incentive to come out, I don't know what it is.
I mean
free crawfish and free beer.
Yeah. It sounds like a good day to me.
That does sound good.
And it's on a Saturday, right? So
it's on a Saturday, which is even
work?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't even have to have the PTO going on for you. So anyway, I think it's past dinner time, so we're going to go do that thing. We did talk about possibly doing we're going to try to set up maybe some kind of a map. So when this posts, it'll either be there or not, but we might have a map with some dots on it so that you can go check out some of these places that we've talked about. And if nothing else, maybe we can do maybe a 60 Instagram posts of pictures from these locations or something like that. So we'll try to figure something out cool to do, and we'll link it in the notes, and it'll maybe be denoted as a cool thing that we said we would do. So anyway, be looking for that, and I hope you guys have a great week, great weekend. Get outside, and remember, this is your element.
Living it.